This video's main purpose is to set up a layered character so it can be used as an avatar in NaniNovel. Or more precisely, in the future, I don't actually forget how to do it. First, we need to set up a layered character. If you've already know how to create one, you can go ahead and skip ahead. After you've imported all your image files, you will want to change the mesh type of them to full rect. I'm just going to select them all and do it all at once. Don't forget to apply your changes. It may take a moment for them to compile. Next, we need to create a layered character. Right-click, Create, NaniNovel, Character, Layered. Rename it to your character. In my case, her name is Chakra. Open up the character prefab we just created. By default, every character comes pre-built like this. My character won't need layer 1, so I'm going to delete it. In NaniNovel scripts, I'm going to be calling this character's different parts by groups. The first group layer, I'm going to rename it to body, as this will be the base of my character. I have 2 outfits and 3 poses per outfit, so I will need to create 6 layers within the body group, naming them something simple that I can easily remember. Select each layer and add in the appropriate image. Selecting all layers at once and holding down Ctrl D will automatically copy them. I'll just have to rename them and add the appropriate image. I won't need layer 2. Copying the already made group will make it easier to add each additional group moving forward. All I will have to do is rename them and replace the images. You will need to create a group for each part of the character you plan on creating. I have extras like blush and crying that my character doesn't always use. I forgot I needed an empty layer for when they aren't needed. All you'll have to do is create a new layer, or in my case, duplicate an existing layer within the group and remove the selected sprite to none. Once you've created all your groups, you will need to arrange the order and layer under additional settings if you haven't already done this. I'll keep the base of the body at order layer 0, the hair I'll change to 5 so it'll show above everything else. The eyes, brows, and mouth I'll change to 3. My extras, some will be on layer 2 so it will show below the eyes, while the other will be on order layer 4 which will show above the eyes. Once you have all order layers done, your character should look like a hot mess. But don't worry, this is normal. After building the character, now we need to create a render texture for her. Right-click, Create Render Texture. I'm going to call it Chakra Renderer so I know this will represent this particular character. Selecting the texture we just created, you will need to change the size so it will be appropriate for your character. Otherwise, she could look squashed or stretched. For my particular image, I need 900 by 1157, but your image may be a completely different size. Next, you will need to create a custom printer to display your avatar. If you don't know how, just follow along. You will need to right-click, Create NaniNovel, Text Printer, and in my case, I'm using a TextMesh Pro Wide. You can also just use the wide one, but keep in mind sometimes normal text will become blurry, whereas TextMesh Pro will be more clear. Rename the printer to whatever you want it to be called. Be sure to add your new printer so NaniNovel can recognize it. In order to do that, go to Project Settings, Text Printers, Manage Text Printer Resources, add a new printer, and call it whatever name you want. Next, you will want to edit actor media data. Be sure to add the prefab of your new printer to Resources under Objects. Now let's actually fix the printer so it will display our character. Open up the prefab of the text printer we just created. Locate the AuthorImage. Under the inspector, remove the component AuthorImage script completely. under the raw image, you will need to assign the render texture we just made earlier of the character. Select Set Native Size. We'll resize the image to the size we set earlier. Now all that's left is to position the author image so your character will show where you want her on the printer. Now that we have our printer set up, let's set up our character with NaniNovel. Go to Project Settings, Characters, Manage Characters Resources, add a new character or name it. I'm naming this Test for testing purposes, of course. Edit Actor Media Data. Under Implementation, change it to NaniNovel Layered Character. Under Render Texture, add our character renderer texture we made. Write the character's name you want displayed on the printer. Under Link Printer, choose the printer we just made. Mine happens to be Test Chat. And finally, add in the character prefab into the resources under Objects. It's time to test out the character. Creating a test script, I start with the @char. Next, you need the name of the character that was determined under Characters. I called mine Test, so you need to type test dot. Next, we need to let NaniNovel know what parts we want to use. Remember our layered character we set up by groups? We need to write each group down with the corresponding layer that goes with it. So after test dot, we start with body greater than U1. You want to start from the top and go down, writing every group name greater than layer name with commas in between each group. You will need to write this every time you want to change the character's parts. Example, having her smile, or changing a pose, or closing her eyes, and so on. Now let's make her speak so we can actually see her on the printer. All that's left is to see this whole thing in action.